Here I go. Sashi huki jokshin mektok dram. Rirabling shi nendegen badi. Sangye shingdu mikte uwargi. Joku namdak shingla chupar shok. Iram guru anamandragam niryatayami. Sangye churang soki chok namla. Changchu bardu dakni kapsuchi. Daki chinsok wipe tsunam ki. Dolar penchir sangye chupa shok. Sangye churang soki chok namla. Changchu bardu dakni kapsuchi. Daki chinsok wipe tsunam ki. Jola penchir sangye chupa shok. Sangye churang soki choknam na. Changchu vardu dakni kapsuchi. Daki chunyen gipe tsunam ki. Jolar penchir sangye chupa shok. Okay, so we will do the quiz. Quiz 1. And yeah, if you're not doing the quiz, just take a break for about 10 minutes. All right, here we go. I'm going to highlight it for my purposes. Hold on. Oop, that's quiz 2. Okay, there it is. Okay, is everyone done? Okay. Okay, get started. Are there any questions from class 1? The homework or the quiz? No. Okay, here we go. So this is class 2 in course 17, ACI, which is a review course. Right now we're reviewing ACI course 6, which is on the Diamond Cutter Sutra. Who wrote the book, The Diamond Cutter Sutra?
The Buddha.
No,
Buddha.
I already tricked you with this question. He didn't write anything.
We don't know who wrote it. He said it.
He spoke it. Someone else wrote it down. Okay. Anyway, question 1. Name and describe the principle most important reaching an intellectual understanding of emptiness at the path of preparation. Okay, so to talk about this, we have to talk a little about the 5 paths. The first one is called the path of accumulation. It usually happens after someone has a disaster in their life and decides to figure out a way to stop disasters from happening in their life. And then you have the second path, which is called the path of preparation, which generally is spoken about as having an intellectual understanding of emptiness. And then usually due to someone teaching you. And then 3 is a path of seeing, where you directly perceive emptiness directly based upon your understanding of it from path 2. And then 4 is the path of habituation, which is basically habituating yourself to understanding or acting upon what you saw in the path of seeing, the third path. And then the path of no more learning, which is kind of not a path because it's the end of the path. It's called the path of no more learning because you become a Buddha, and there's no more to learn because you're omniscient. And in Buddhism, path, which in Tibetan is Lam, and in Sanskrit is Marga, means a realization. So all the paths are basically established through some kind of realization. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is about the second path. Which is called the path of preparation. So name and describe the principle most important, reaching an intellectual understanding of emptiness at the path of preparation. So we discussed this concept in course 13, if you took that course, with me or with someone else. And in Tibetan, that thing is called Chi Chejak. Chi means general, Chejak means specific, literally. But Geshe Michael translated it as quality and characteristic. So here's what Geshe Michael had to say about it. This is the principle of quality and characteristic, which is more generally translated as general and specific. Oh, what I just said, cool. In general, there are 4 types of generals, 3 of which are especially relevant here. These are type generals, Rikchi, actual object generals, Dunshi, and term generals, Trachi. So if you didn't take course 13 with me or someone else, Drachi means that something Dra means sound. It means you heard of something in the past. You've heard of something, but you haven't seen it. Like Geshe Michael likes to use the example of the Eiffel Tower. Like I've personally never been to France as an example, but I've seen it on TV. I've heard people talk about it. So I have an image of the Eiffel Tower in my mind, although I haven't been there. So I have a drachi of it, not a dunchi. And a dunshi is if you've actually perceived the object or interacted with it. That's a dunshi. And that's the one that's most relevant to our discussion, I would say. And then type generals are rikchi. That means something that refers to a category, right? Rik means category, literally. So an example of a type general would be car, which is a quality, chi in Tibetan, characteristic of chejak, a Chevrolet. Okay, so there's a group of things called car, right? Not a car, not the car, but car. And in that quality, you have a characteristic called chejak. You have, which is called a chejak in Tibetan, but which is a Chevrolet. And so an example of an actual object general would be your mental image of a person whom you had actually met before. So an example of a term general would be your mental image of a person whom you have heard someone talk about, but you've never actually met. Okay, that's what I was referring to with the Eiffel Tower example. And then the 4th type of general is a collection general, which refers to a whole composed of its parts. So this, that could be like a person's body, and that's the example Geshe uses. An example here would be a person's body composed of head, legs, arms, and torso, right? So that's a collection of parts. He doesn't put the Tibetan here, but it's sokchi, and sok means collection or to collect. It's in the mandala offering, or the dedication, sok sok shing, like collection of merit and collection of merit, wisdom. May people collect all those things to become a Buddha. So how this is relevant to the path of preparation is on the path of preparation, you, because of your intellectual understanding of emptiness, before you see emptiness directly, you actually see a dunshi, which is like this whole pen thing. You see your projection coming out of your mind as the object that you thought was out there. So the object you thought was out there is actually only a projection. Okay, think about that for a second. Okay, excuse me. So yeah, so that object you see, the pen thing, is the dunshi. Um, and this is, I don't know, they say this is the door to emptiness. This question, you got to think about it a lot. You just have to contemplate it. I mean, if you have questions about it, I'll answer them. But generally, you just have to contemplate it. And eventually, you start to work out that the thing you think is out there could never be out there. Things can exist in the way you think they do. There's nothing out there that can ever look like what you think they look like. There's nothing that you've ever seen in total. There's nothing you've ever seen actually. You only ever see indications of a thing. And those indications of a thing are only a thing due to the fact that you have a seed that opens in your mind and creates a thing to be the thing. There's nothing else that could ever be possible due to the fact that you can never witness a whole object at the same time, that you've never seen a whole object at the same time. And what you think is out there could never be out there. And there's many different proofs for emptiness, and therefore proofs for this, which is the proof that things dependently originate based upon your perspective, and your perspective is based upon the seeds that come out of your mind. The leap is that those things come out of your mind due to the karmas that you've incurred by how you treated others in the past. And that's the part that is deeply hidden. We say Shinto Kokyur in Tibetan. And that's the part that Lord Buddha teaches us, because if someone not on that level doesn't teach us that, we cannot see the link. Human cognition is of the sort where it is limited in seeing the causal nature of things. And all, minds have limitations. Therefore, that's a way that our mind is limited. According to Buddhism, Buddhists are not limited in that way. And out of compassion, they teach us that things have causes, and then they create the things that you don't want. And you tend to react to the things that you don't want by doing the very same thing that created the thing that you don't want. And that thing only has a nature based upon the fact that it's an image projected out of your mind. And ignorance of that fact, especially ignorance of the fact that you yourself and the things around you are just that, spins the wheel of life. That's why the wheel of life is called the 12 links of dependent origination. How things happen based upon the things that you did in the past. Okay. All right. There's a Tibetan. Here's question 2. Give the name of the state of mind following the direct perception of emptiness at the path of seeing, and list the 4 objects understood at this point. Okay. So the direct perception of emptiness is broken up into 2 parts. the part where you're actually sitting in meditation and you have a direct perception of the lack of self-nature to objects, and the part afterwards where you come out of meditation, where you're not directly perceiving emptiness anymore, but you are still under the influence of the direct perception of emptiness, which gives you a sort of miraculous insight into the world. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. Aldo, I don't understand your question. Can you explain how to access Spanish channel? Oh, to the people in class? Shake your head. Yeah? Oh, okay. So if you want to access the Spanish channel, you go down to this little globe at the bottom of the screen, or on the bar, and it's going to say like interpretation or something like that. And you press it, and then you press Spanish channel, and you should be able to listen to Aldo translating what I'm saying from English into Spanish. And one of our Chinese students has a question about the Chinese for these things. I'm going to give her the Chinese. So everyone who doesn't care about Chinese, just give me a second here, because I think it's cool. 1 second. I don't know if I have that. I'm pretty sure I do. Let's see how good my Tibetan spelling is. Drachi. It's like this. Yes, there it is. There, Tracy Long. And then Dunchi. How do you spell Dun? Oh, I think it's like this. And then which one do you want to know? Rikchi, or let me see. Yeah, Rikchi. Spelled like this. Rikchi. Oh, okay, Tracy. How am I?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Was so deep.
Okay. Mayuenti. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Okay, and that period after you see, so during direct perception is called the direct perception of emptiness, and after, which is still on the path of seeing, is called subsequent wisdom. In Tibetan is Jetop Yeshe. It just means like the wisdom you gain afterwards. So like the aftermath. It's just like subsequent is just like kind of like después here, or maybe it's better than después. Maybe it would be how do you say, sugir? Like that happens like just after. It actually comes from the same root, if you care. This SEQU is the same, like sugeriento, like sugeriendo, like the thing that happens as a result of, comes in English as the word second. That's why segundo has the same thing in it. Segue, subsequent. Anyway, what happens because you saw emptiness directly. It's not just after, but because you saw emptiness directly. And so that is a famous group of things. What is the famous group of 4 called? Give me the usual translation and give me the good translation.
The Four Noble Truths and the Four Arya Truths.
Okay, which one's the good one and which one's the usual one?
The Arya Truths.
Okay, why are they called the four Arya truths?
Because after seeing emptiness directly, we have higher realizations. And so Arya is means this higher thought.
That's true, but even more concisely, you just say, because that's what an Arya sees.
Okay.
You understand? Like you are an Arya at that point.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Perfect. And noble is just a translation of the word Arya. That's all. So it's not like totally misleading, but if you put the word Arya, it just encapsulates the whole experience in my belief. So there's four of those things, and there's all these different things that happen, and they're encapsulated by these four groups. The first one is, for the first time, one perfectly understands that all life is suffering, and this is the Arya truth of suffering. So this is like, I think this is one of like maybe the 4 or 5 things that like everyone, if they know anything about Buddhism, they heard this one, right? They heard bodhisattvas have compassion. They heard everything suffering. They heard, I think those are the big 2. Maybe we'll just stick to 2 then. Well, they heard the word enlightenment or something like that, you know? I mean, you could give a whole course just on this one thing, right? And some lamas do, right? Because, I mean, if you tell this to some people, they're going to be like, I'm not suffering. What are you talking about? And it's that whole realization of a disaster thing. It's just like, it's not just that life, like Soklam, which is the path of accumulation, the first path, is not just like realizing, oh, that you had a disaster. It's that like life is a disaster. Like it's a disaster either happening or waiting to happen, you know? And people argue about this, and I've gotten arguments. I don't argue anymore. I'm just like, okay, whatever. But like, since you're in the class, I'll talk to you about it. I mean, there's 3 basic sufferings. It's the pain you're having right now, the pain you're about to have, which is inevitable, and the fact that your pain is inevitable, or you're having pain right now because of the type of life you are, the human or otherwise. Okay? Anything other than Buddha, according to Buddhism. And I don't know. I just translate it as problems. If you say suffering, people are like, I'm not suffering. I'm like, all right, so you're telling me you're never gonna have a problem again? They're like, well, no. So I'm like, yeah, that's all it's saying. Like, human life has problems, period. And then they're like, but that's how life is. Yeah, but then you're like, human life, right? That's the understanding. Life in the wheel of samsara is suffering, but that doesn't mean that all life is suffering. And that's all that Buddhism's saying. And you can argue about it, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to really prove it until you just get there. So that's what I just decided to do. Okay, so that's the first Arya truth. The second Arya truth is that, wait, hold on, excuse me. Distract. Yes, the second suffering is that one perfectly understands that this suffering has come through ignorance, the bad thoughts that creates it, and the karma inspired by them both. This is the Arya truth of the origin of suffering. So basically, this is understanding that your suffering has a cause, because you can understand. I think people will reach the point where they understand that life is problems. But that doesn't mean you necessarily have to understand that it has a cause, right? You can just think that it's random or that just is the way things are or something. I don't know. So that's a second Arya truth. You understand that things have a cause. Your suffering has a cause specifically, and it's linked directly to how you've perceived the world and the bad thoughts that it makes, which is the first link of the wheel of life, right? The first and second link. First link is the misunderstanding, specifically misunderstanding your own nature, and the nature of the things, your stuff, and then the second link is the karma that's created, or the seeds that are created in your mind due to that. Okay. And the third suffering is, the third Arya truth is understanding that life has an end. Or the suffering life has an end. Samsara itself has an end. And this is where you get into the leap, right? And this is why there's teachings like the Buddhist teachings. But it makes sense. If things are caused, anything that's caused ends. So there you go. So if you understand 2, probably should understand 3. And then 4 is that there's a path, because I think there's a way to get to that end, basically. One sees how to reach the end of suffering, especially by the use of direct perception of emptiness. This is called the Arya truth of the path. Yeah. And this basically just takes you onto the path of habituation, or the path of you're supposed to have more direct perceptions of emptiness. When you have a direct perception of emptiness, supposedly you become what they call a 7 lifer, meaning you will get out of samsara in 7 lifetimes or less. Like something on a conveyor belt. If you're on the conveyor belt, you don't actually have to like it's just going to take you out. You can do stuff, but no matter what, you're going to go out, right? Okay. And that's it. Question number 3. Okay, give at least 2 actual examples of the 4 objects listed in question 2. Okay, this is really cool. So there's a bunch, and I think there's even more than what Geshe-la put here, but we'll go over the ones that he wrote. Maybe I'll go over some other ones if I think it's going to help. One perceives truly the fact that he or she is impermanent and must die. For about a day, one can read other people's minds and see directly the mental afflictions in them. That's pretty self-explanatory. B, one understands that he or she never had a correct perception at all at any moment of his or her life so far. One understands that all of his or her actions are actually only selfish and self-serving. Even religious studies and rituals and offerings are constantly affected by self-interest, desire, and pride. And I think this is, I don't know. I haven't had direct perception of emptiness, but at some point I realized this. I'm just like, oh, I just do everything for myself. Like even the things I do for other people, it's because I want to feel good about myself doing good things for other people, right? And I don't know. I think some people don't believe that's what's happening. I don't believe those people. I don't know. I don't think, because even if you don't think you're being selfish, I mean, all you can see is yourself, your life, you know, it's all your perspective. So, you know, try as we may. So it's not, I don't know, it seems that way to me. And then, yeah. Oh yeah, the correct perception part. So this is where we make the distinction between a correct perception and a valid perception. That's why we use the word valid. And using the word correct is sometimes problematic. So a valid perception is like, I'm validly looking at my computer right now, looking at you all on Zoom. And that works. And I can see Kelly McGee staring at me blankly, and Aldo translating, and so forth. And so those things are validly happening. Are they a correct perception? No, in the sense that it seems like there's a computer outside of me. It seems like the things around me are separate from me, and that's not correct. Although they are validly outside me and they validly function, but they don't seem connected to me in the sense of like an image coming out of my mind, the dunshi. So in that way, we've never had a correct perception until we see emptiness directly. And if you have it, because emptiness is the way things that really are, the way things really are. So therefore, anything but that is an illusion of sorts, right? And that's what they call the word Maya in Sanskrit. It means things are illusion in the way that they aren't the way they seem ultimately, although they still function due to your dependent origination. Okay. C, one understands that the emptiness which is perceived directly was the essence body of the Buddha, which is the Buddha nature, the emptiness body. One knows how many lifetimes it will be. For example, 7 more, which is what I just mentioned, before he sees enlight, before his or her enlightenment or their enlightenment. But it can be less than 7 if you practice Tantra, okay? It's 7 or less according to the scriptures and Holy Geshe Michael. One realizes that he will not be called by his name at that time. On that point, Geshe mentions that most of the time where he talks about direct perception of emptiness. And he also mentions that you won't understand what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to leave it at that. He just says that one realizes he will not be called by his name at that time. All right, I'm just going to leave it there, okay? One understands that the representations of the Buddha and Tantric deities, such as paintings and statues, have actually come eventually from someone who actually saw them. So it is said that you have met the Buddha when you have the direct perception of emptiness. And you understand that Tantric deities are real in the sense that people actually met them and they drew a picture of them, and that was the tankas that you see to this day. Tanka means holy painting, if you don't know, in Tibetan. Okay. And then D, one understands perfectly that his perception was accurate and correct and not a delusion or hallucination. One has an almost physical sensation of bodhicitta, a love spreading out to the world from one's heart and intention to help the world. One for a time loses all desire for worldly objects such as food, understands that miracles like turning iron to gold are possible, and realizes that the contents of the scripture are perfectly correct, that the Dharma is the absolutely correct way. One understands the meaning of the diamond, one understands truly the need to prostrate oneself. This is like a whole long teaching that Geshe Michael has given quite a few times. So I'll try to break most of this down, but it's the review course, so we're reviewing. One understands perfectly his perception was accurate, not correct. So you're supposed to have had a cessation at that point, meaning, and one of the cessations are doubt in the Buddhist path. So you don't doubt the fact you saw emptiness directly, right? So that's that one. One has an almost physical sensation of bodhicitta. So for this one, this is kind of like the direct perception of bodhicitta Geshe-la is mentioning here, which is which you don't technically have to have on the path of seeing. This would mean that you reach the first bodhisattva bhumi, which is the first bodhisattva level, which means you have bodhicitta and you've seen emptiness directly. So, but Geshe-la almost always mentions the two together, but just giving you the technical understanding. And yeah, and so you've seen emptiness directly, and basically you can you have basically superpowers, and you understand how like certain things that people would consider magic happen. Okay. And then 4, did the Buddha in his former life feel pain as his limbs were slowly cut off by the king of Kalinka? And he understood the emptiness of the 3 elements. Explain in some detail. Okay, so Geshe-la does talk about this in his Diamond Cutter book, the business book that he wrote, which you can buy on Amazon. There's an audio on Audible too if you want to go that route. But in the Diamond Cutter Sutra, as spoken by Lord Buddha, he basically says in a past life when he was the Bodhisattva called the perfection of patience, right? Which is, if you know who Lama Zopa is, incorrectly pronounced Lama Zopa, that's what his name means. If you say Zopa, it means a spy or something, or like an agent, apparently. If you say Supa, low tone, it means the perfection of patience, okay? So the Buddha in that life was called Supa in Tibetan. What is it in, oh, Shiva in Sanskrit, like Shiva-hla, right? No, excuse me. No, that's not right. Shiva is Tibetan. I think it's Shanti or something related. Anyway, you don't care. He was a bodhisattva in the forest, and the queen of Kalinka saw him and asked him for advice. And the king who was hunting at the time, his hunting party came up on them and basically thought the queen was flirting with somebody, and he was like off with his limbs, you know, and started to cut his limbs. Apparently, since they had perfected patience, he never got upset, and he saw the emptiness of the cutter, the things being cut, and the persons whose things were being cut off, namely himself, and never got upset. And this is because he understood the emptiness of all 3 of those things, which is the fact that if in some former life or some former time in that life he hadn't hurt beings, he wouldn't be getting cut. If he hadn't hurt beings, he wouldn't see things getting cut off. And if he hadn't hurt beings, he wouldn't see someone cutting him. And also, if he had done something else, he would be seeing something else entirely, right? Like angels or something worse, I guess. Okay, but he did feel the pain, right? So I'll read the answer Geshe-la wrote here. He did feel pain, but he realized at that same time that the 3 elements of the situation, meaning here the king who was hurting him, himself being hurt by the king, and the fact that the whole situation was happening at all, each had its own emptiness, meaning each was a perception being forced upon him by his past deeds or karma. That's it. And that's how everything happens, by the way. That's the moral of the story. Anyway, 5, why didn't he feel any hatred at that moment? Oh, more on the king of Kalinka, good. He didn't feel any hatred because he realized that the reason the situation was happening was that he himself had done harm to someone else in the past. And he understood that if he did respond with hatred or any negative action or karma, He would only be perpetuating the situation, and he would again be hurt himself in the future. He chose instead to break the cycle of violence by applying his wisdom, his understanding of emptiness. And that's how you break the wheel of life. If you can break the fact that you think things have a nature of themselves and then go on to create bad karma as a result, you won't create that bad karma in the first place. That's all. Easy, easy schmeezy. Okay, 6. Why do things change, and why do some things in our world cause other things? For example, why does medicine always work? And why are some investment strategies always successful? Right? Right, Kelly McGee? Medicine always works?
I wish.
Yeah, it's kind of the definition of medicine that it doesn't always work. I used to work in an herb shop, and people would come in to be like, give me the best thing for headaches. I'm like, the reason we have 20 things is for headaches is because there is no best thing for headaches. You'd be surprised how much customers don't like to hear that, although it's very true, right? And the reason people don't like to hear that is because of their misunderstanding. The reason they asked the question in the first place was due to misunderstanding, right? If you think there's a best thing for headaches, then you think that the active ingredient is in the medicine. What's the active ingredient in medicine?
Whether you helped people before.
Yep, exactly. Aldo says seeds. Aldo, that is always the right answer, okay? You're safe with that answer. Good job. Okay, here's what Geschler wrote. Despite the fact that things are empty, no. I'm glad I thought I was like, what? I can't believe you wrote that. No, because of the fact that things are empty, things work, right? Because, for example, medicine is empty and has no inherent nature of being able to cure anything. Aspirin works for some people and doesn't work for others, depending on their own past deeds or karma. And it's obvious that we can't say that risky investment strategies are more successful than conservative ones, or vice versa. Either one is successful for a person who has made karmic imprints on their mind in the past, and either one is unsuccessful for a person who has not. Or I might even elaborate, for a person who has to have that karmic imprint ripening, because you could make the karmic imprint and it might not ripen. So you have to, both has to happen, right? Because you're like, but I gave to my mom. How come I'm not rich? Didn't ripen, right? Okay. All right. Let's see. 7. Explain why the viewpoint expressed by Huashang. Huashang is a famous monk from China who had a debate with Master Kamala Shila, who I may point out, Kamala is now the name of the Vice President of the United States. I think that's progress. It means a kind of lotus flower. Her mother's Indian. Her father's Jamaican. I'm Jamaican. Okay. Yeah, Kamala means like Kamala Shila, right? Okay. Anyway, Kamala Shila and Huashang. Huashang in Chinese just means monk. So it just means literally like the monk or something. I think his name was Huashang Mahayana for the full name. And others, that morality is unnecessary because things are empty is totally mistaken. Okay, so this is a very famous debate which happens when you explain emptiness to people. They can get emptiness and they could be like, oh, that means that nothing exists, nothing matters, everything is black, everything is, I don't know, what's the other thing? Nothing exists, nothing matters, everything's black. Those are some of the common ones that people walk away with when they have a teaching of emptiness that either is incomplete or they didn't understand completely. So listen closely. All objects in the world are like empty screens, right? So you can say blank, but blank might be better than empty. But I think any word has a problem to describe emptiness. By its nature, haha, get it, it's nature. Okay, what we see on them is totally a projection caused by imprints in our own minds, placed there when we did something either good or bad in the past. Okay, meaning everything we see has no nature, it's just us projecting from our karma as it ripens. Therefore, because things are empty, we must be good and moral in our personal lives if we want to be forced by our karma to see the world as a tantric paradise in the future. I mean, if you want that, you got to do the things, right? That's the third law of karma. First law of karma, you get what you give. Second law of karma, you get more than what you gave. Third law of karma, if you didn't give, you don't get. Fourth law of karma, what you gave don't go nowhere until you get it. Sometimes 3 is 4 and 4 is 3. I don't know, it depends. Okay. That's class, I believe. Sorry to review. I'm not in the chattiest mood today, but I will answer questions. Any questions? I mean, this is probably the most important class in the whole ACI course, honestly. I mean, or classes like it. It just explains how everything works.
I have a question about the definitions of the 4 Arya truths, because they seem
the definitions or descriptions?
The descriptions.
Oh, so this one?
Yeah.
Or this one?
I think it's question 2.
Okay, so question 2. So yeah, that's the definitions. Okay, go on.
In the past, I've thought of them a little bit differently. And I'm just wondering, is this something that like the translation is like super important? I mean, is Geshe-la suggesting like the translation of the 4 Arya truths are this? I mean, I noticed like the Tibetan is like the word, is it the word Dempa is in each one of them?
Yeah, Dempa means truth.
Okay, Dempa means truth. So it's, so Duknya would be suffering truth, and then Kunjung would be caused truth.
No, you can't say it like that. Truth of suffering.
Okay, and then the truth that's so is Kunjung caused?
Kunjung means source, but yes, cause or source. Mm-hmm.
The source of suffering. Okay.
The truth that suffering has a source or cause. Yep.
I mean, is he trying to say that like that this translation and like this is it, and like maybe what I've thought of before isn't like accurate? Like what I've thought of before is life is suffering. Suffering has a cause. Because it's caused, it can be stopped, and there is a path. I mean, is this is kind of saying the same thing, but is he saying like this particular translation is like important?
I don't know how what you just said is different than what is here. That is what I said.
Okay.
Suffering, the truth that suffering as a cause, the truth that it can be stopped, and the truth there's a path to stop that. That's it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, this is just describing what you just said. I totally agree with what you said. I don't think Geshe-la would disagree whatsoever. Just more details. Okay. Okay, good question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. ¿Más preguntas, por favor? More questions?
I have another one.
Okay, go ahead.
So one of the things talks about the essence of the essence body, that we realize the essence body. So I had to go back and look at the definition of the essence body, which is that we recognize that we are a movie screen. We project things onto it. So that makes,
it's just the emptiness of the other three bodies specifically. Yeah.
okay.
Did you have a question about that?
No, it really helped to go back to that definition, to think about that. It makes sense.
Yeah. Mhm.
I do have a question about the prostration. Does it, it says, and we just like immediately will prostrate. Does that mean prostrating to a lama?
Oh yeah, I didn't go over that point. Thanks. That means for people who have seen, I don't know, if you ever saw that, what's that Charlton Heston movie where he plays Moses?
The Ten Commandments.
Ten Commandments. Yeah. That when like he sees the burning bush and he just throws himself on the ground. It's like that. Like you actually met God and you just like throw your face in the dirt and you're like, oh my God, I just met God. Like I can't even look upon you, like that. So no, not like a llama. Like you just saw the holiest thing in the universe, and all you could think to do is, before you could even think, you're throwing yourself on the ground, like in like total like respect and honor and amazement at what you just saw. And from that came prostrating, is the thing. Like that came, and then the whole ritual or practice of prostrating came out of the fact that when Aryas see emptiness directly, they do that.
I remember when even Natanya talked about prostrating and said that it's like really important to like hit your head on the floor because it's like about like awakening. Like that moment is like about awakening.
Oh, I personally never heard that, but you can try it. I'm not gonna hit my head, but maybe it'll work for you.
Thank you.
To each their own.
One question.
Wait, Ying Hui raised their hand. So you're next. Ying Hui, Chinpei Hama?
No, sorry, I clicked wrongly. Sorry.
Oh, it was an accident?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, Mayor Wenti. Okay, yes. Who asked?
I have one question. Irior?
Oh, hi.
When was in the past life of Buddha and the King Kalinga was cooking?
Yep.
So you say the cause for the third bodhisattva booming is just to have in mind the trees first when this kind of thing is happening?
No, I didn't say that. I was saying he was on the third bodhisattva bhumi. The cause for the third bodhisattva bhumi is the direct perception of emptiness. Several times. They say that you reach the third bodhisattva bhumi, like basically the third time you see emptiness directly, or something of that nature. but because you saw emptiness directly, and then when you apply it as realizing the three spheres are happening, even though you feel pain.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that helps. Good questions. Any other questions? No, Aldo, I can't. You know why? Because class 1 talked all about the three spheres. And guess who didn't come to class 1? Aldo. You. You should ask one of your fellow classmates about the three spheres if you want to know more about it. Moncho will be happy to explain it to you because he was present in class. Fine, I'll explain it after I gave Aldo crap. I'll explain it. It was in the homework for class 1, so I hope you got it in the homework, the question correct. But basically, to any deed, there are three spheres. There is the person doing the deed itself, or the object by which the deed is happening. It depends. It can be either. And then lastly, the thing that you're acting upon or person. So if I'm going to give Aldo a peso, I could say, I'm the giver, the peso is the object being given, and Aldo's the receiver. And those are the three spheres. Or I'm the giver, the act of giving the peso is the second sphere, and Aldo is the one receiving the thing. And so all three of those things, here, watch this. Homework 1, question 6. Name the three elements of the act of giving. Okay. So here it is, and you can review it after class as well if you'd like. They all basically say the same thing, but just changing which thing's emptiness. So the emptiness of the giver is, so that sphere, that thing, like sphere just means where the thing is happening, is the fact that the person who is practicing the perfection of giving, in this case, it can be anything, right? I myself am empty of any self-existence, right? So the emptiness of me as the first sphere, that is, I exist as I do in the present situation through the perceptions forced upon me by my past actions or karma. And this same principle means that continued giving can help me perceive myself later as an enlightened being. If I understand this, then I don't see this element in an act of giving as being self-existent anymore. Meaning, because you're empty, you could become an enlightened being based on the fact of what you're doing. Because if you weren't empty of being anything, you couldn't become something else. And if you did the right thing, you could become exactly what you wanted. So if you wanted to become enlightened, they say the cause for that is things like the direct perception of emptiness, bodhicitta, and subsequent actions along those paths, like the bodhisattva bhumis, or the 5 paths, depending on how you look at it. Okay. And so the rest are the same. So it's the same exact thing, except you change the giver to the givee, the person receiving, right? They are empty too. They could be a Buddha, or you could perceive them as such if you had the right karma. And the giving also, it could be the act of an enlightened being as opposed to, a human, if you had the right karma. And if you think of it that way and are planting in particular to one day see it that way when you're doing it, it speeds up the process, which is what I want. I don't know. I've had enough of this suffering thing. Yinghui asks, how can we remember 3 spheres all the time? Oh, my dear, it's just called practice. A lot. Maybe you have to sit in your room for 10 years and listen to ACI courses. Or move in with people who really bother you, like Aldo. I mean, Aldo, I moved in with Aldo and bothered him. Now he bothers me. Aldo's great. No, seriously, you just got to practice. Master Shantideva says all throughout the day, we should just be recollecting our body, our feelings, our thoughts, you know, thinking of them, being aware of them, and our practices, you know, like our vows and the Dharma and whatever else. That's good. Whatever you want to see, you just gotta remember. If you can't remember, you got a problem. You have to be able to remember. Yeah, Master Patanjali says that too. One of the 5 powers to achieving freedom. Don't ask me the other 4 right now. What are they? Working really hard, wisdom. This is not in order. Remembering. I forget the other 2. Don't make me look it up. Okay, those are the 3 spheres. Aldo. And the reason Geshe-la puts this note here is because the act of giving could also be the object. They're used interchangeably. Okay. That's a good question, good reminder. I probably need to be reminded of that. Aldo's enlightened, so he's just helping me remember. Okay. Aldo, that's the only reason I'm friends with you, okay? I'm just using you to get enlightened, sorry. No, I'm joking. Aldo said that to me once about someone. I thought it was funny. You remember that, Aldo? Okay, cool. I'm just messing with you. Okay, what else? Nothing. I can take my nap now. Is that what
Sorry. Can
Oh.
I ask about like class 1? But I haven't really finished listening the audio, but I heard about the Tantra practice. So I heard like there's like higher form and lower form. So like, can you explain a bit more about this?
about Tantra? About higher and lower Tantra?
Yeah, like what is the difference? Because I heard like lower one is more about the ritual, and then higher one is more on the inner practice or what? I can't remember.
Do you know what Tantra means?
Secret practice.
It means secret.
Yeah, so you have to talk about secretly, right?
You need initiation.
Huh?
You need an initiation.
Okay.
You get initiation, I'll tell all about it with you, okay?
Okay.
Sorry. Good question, though. I never heard of Tantra. What's that? What are you talking about?
Sorry. But it's in the audio one. It's in audio one.
Which
ACI
audio?
17. Yeah.
ACI what? Well, Geshe-la says it?
Yes. That's why Tantra practice. Yeah. Yeah.
Ask Geshe-la.
You are one for the Geshe. You are Geshe-la soon.
When I'm Geshe-la, I'll tell you.
Soon.
Very soon. Soon they won't call me by the name word. Okay, that's what Geshe-la told me. All right. It's a good question, but it's open class, sutra class, not tantra class, okay? Okay. And good. Any other question? No. I can take my nap. Yay. Okay. Okay, do your homework. Do your quizzes. A lot of this, I mean, if you've been hanging out with Geshe-la for a little bit, A lot of this is going to be review because this is the stuff that Geshe emphasizes, the stuff that he really wants us to know and remember. So that's why it's in the review course. So if you're like Aldo and you like follow Geshe around the world, when there's not a plague, this class is easy for you because you heard all this stuff about 1 billion times. Because this is the stuff that gets you enlightened. So Geshe keeps saying it over and over because he wants you to get enlightened. Me, I just want myself to get enlightened. I don't care. I'm just trying to get my homework done, okay? I'm no high bodhisattva. I'm lazy. Luna asked, can you share where we can find the audio of the diamond cutter? ¿En inglés o en español? En español, no sé. En inglés, I will puedo explicar ahorita. Un ratito. Okay. Okay. There's probably other places, but this is what I was talking about. It's audible.com, okay? It's an audiobook website owned by Jeff Bezos, okay? If you don't like Jeff Bezos, sorry. You can probably find another way to buy it, but Jeff Bezos will give you the first month of Audible free, and you can get 1 free book. So you could get the Diamond Cutter for free from Jeff Bezos. He's got a lot of money, so don't worry, he'll be fine. And he's offering it, okay? We're not stealing from Mr. Bezos. Okay. And then Tracy Wong wants my dictionary. Tracy Wong, you know how many copies of that dictionary there are? 1. Do you know where that dictionary is only available? My computer. So currently, no, you can't have a copy of the dictionary. But when I'm done it, we're trying to make it for distribution, especially for our Chinese Sangha, because it's full of Chinese. But me and Geshe need to have a meeting on that. And he asked me to have a meeting, but we're both busy. So after I'm done this part and after our meeting, maybe we can distribute it. But there's some copyright issues. That's why I won't just give it to you, okay?
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I have to bother you to help me search for the Chinese word for the Arya truth for description, can? Kunjun Denpa.
No, you don't have to bother me at all, ever. There's other choices, but yes, right now, if you want that from my dictionary, you have to ask me. Okay, you ready? Hope this doesn't bore everybody else too much. Kun, can I spell Jung correctly?
Thank you, teacher.
No problem. I actually enjoy this part, which is my Yingak. Kunjung Dempa, look. GD.
Oh, okay.
There it is. Okay, and then, you know, one thing I have to rejoice about, my Tibetan spelling. I'm sorry. It's good. That's one thing that came good of me not leaving my room. Dupniel, I think this has an S on it though. Uh-oh, just want to have pride about my spelling. 1 second. What? Oh, BS. Okay, that's what. There we go. Cool. Cool means suffering, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Literally means bitter, like a bitter taste, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and Gok means stop. I should just put Gokden. I don't know. Hold on. Yeah, Gokbe Denpa. There we go. Here we go.
Golden and
And then Lamden. Oh yeah, Tao. Tao, because the path, right?
yes,
Okay. Hama?
yes, okay. But what the Ji Kunjun Denpa for Chinese is correct. Ji is correct. The part in your screen is about the cost.
Oh, don't ask me why some Chinese person picked that. How much Chinese do you think I know? You have too much confidence in me. Here's the whole explanation. Some Chinese translator did that 100 years ago. I don't know why, or 1,000 years ago. I don't know why. Here's the whole explanation, okay?
So Kunjun Denpa is the cost, is it correct? The cost of suffering,
Yes, the source or cause.
the social cost. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Why the Chinese says what it does, I don't know. I wish I knew, but I don't. Okay. Thank you, my Chinese students, for believing in me. Okay. Anything else? So now I can take my nap. Okay, good. So we're gonna do mandala. Thank you so much for coming to class. And here I go. Sashi Puki Jokshin Mektok Dram Rirabling Shir Ninde Genpadi Sange Shindu Mikte Ulwargi Joku Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Iram Guru Ratnamandala Kamniriatayam Gewadi Kewokum Sunam Yashe Tok Tok Shin Sunam Yashe Lejungwe Tampa Kunyi Toparsho. Yay. Okay. So Friday, please make it to class if you can. I understand if you have other things to do, like party during the plague. I get it. I'm going to teach the class. Everything is on my YouTube channel, Wordsmith Wisdom, if you want to watch it later. Aldo, put in the chat where they can find these recordings in Spanish, because I didn't know last time. Is it on ACI Mexico's website or their YouTube channel or something? Aldo's going to put in the chat because I never had to look for it, and I think he may have mentioned it before, but I forgot. So if you want to watch it in Spanish, if you're going to miss class on Friday, I just encourage everyone to finish their homework and do their quizzes. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to get those done, because that's the whole point of this, besides, the whole enlightenment thing, whatever, that. All right?
Does anyone want to meet early on Mondays and do a meditation? Like meet at 8 on Mondays and do a meditation?
Leah wants to do meditations on Mondays. I think that's a cool idea.
I mean,
Who's that?
Carolina.
Okay. Leah, you got one. Carolina.
Okay, I think Aldo gave me your email, so I'll send out the email. And as long as I've got one, I'll do it. Hopefully more people will come, but as long as I got one, I'll do it.
Yeah, if you want to do it, just put your email in the chat and ask for Leah to put you on the list. I'm not doing it because I don't want to get burnt out, because then I get angrier. I'm already angry, you know that. So I'm trying to do what Master Shantideva. This is potatoes, okay? Vegetables. All right, if you don't know what I'm talking about, come to review course 18. All right, that's it. I'm done. I love you all. Have an amazing Wednesday night. Hasta viernes.
Thanks for
Thank you, Ward. Gracias, Aldo.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Aldo.
Gracias.
I
Thank
can
you for
hear
the
you.
work.
I'm sure you did a great job.